Hello and welcome. Today, we're diving into one of the most fundamental secrets of existence itself, reproduction. It's the master plan that ensures every single species, from the tiniest bacterium to the most complex animal, gets to stick around on this planet. So, let's get started and uncover how life makes more life. So, let me start with a bit of a riddle for you. Think about all the things your body does to stay alive. Breathing, eating, getting rid of waste. You can't live without any of them. But what about reproduction? As an individual, you can totally live a full life without it. But for your entire species? Well, without it, extinction is just a matter of time. And that's the whole key to why this process is so important. And there you have it, the answer to our riddle. Reproduction isn't about your personal survival. It's about the survival of your entire species. It's nature's ultimate insurance policy, making sure the story of life continues one generation to the next. Okay, so to really get how a whole new life form can be created, we have to zoom way in and go back to basics. We're talking about the cell. Because every single type of reproduction, no matter how wild or complicated it seems, is built on one core process, cells dividing. Let's see how it works. So right here, we have the two main engines that drive life, mitosis and meiosis. And what I absolutely love about this slide is how Dr. Ramez's diagrams make the difference so incredibly clear. On the left, you've got mitosis. Think of it as a straightforward, one-step copy machine. It makes identical clones. But on the right, you see meiosis, a much more complex, two-stage process for creating unique cells. These two processes are the foundation for everything we're about to discuss. This table just breaks it down perfectly. Mitosis happens in your regular body cells. It's for growth and repair, like healing a cut. The result? Two cells that are exact copies of the original. Meiosis, on the other hand, is special. It only happens in reproductive organs to make gametes, sperm and eggs, and it results in 4 unique cells with only half the genetic info. All right, so life has these two different ways for cells to divide. And with these two tools in its toolkit, nature developed two master strategies for survival, two grand plans for making sure a species doesn't die out. And these strategies are completely different in how they work and what they produce. And here is a fantastic example of what I was talking about. With Dr. Ramez's work, he's a master at making complex ideas simple. This mind map tells the whole story at a glance. You can see that every method of reproduction falls under two big umbrellas, asexual and sexual. For today, we're going to focus on that first branch, the strategy built for pure speed and efficiency. So let's step into the world of asexual reproduction. The easiest way to think about this is like a natural cloning machine. You don't need a partner. A single parent can do the entire job all by itself, producing offspring that are, for all intents and purposes, exact copies. So what's so great about this strategy? Well, for one, it keeps the genetic traits perfectly stable. The kids are a carbon copy of the parent. It's also incredibly fast and doesn't waste any energy on things like finding a mate. And the result? You can produce a massive number of offspring fast. And which type of cell division powers all this? You guessed it, that simple copy machine, mitosis. Let's start with the most straightforward method, binary fission. It's as simple as it sounds. A single-celled organism just splits into two. One becomes two, that's it. And this diagram shows the process perfectly. Just look at the amoeba. First, its nucleus makes a copy of itself and divides. Then, the rest of the cell follows suit. And boom, you have two new, identical individuals. The interesting part? The original parent is gone. It literally became its children. The next method up is called budding. Now, instead of splitting equally down the middle, a new individual starts growing off the side of the parent, kind of like a small bud. Think of it like a new branch growing on a tree. And these images show that budding isn't just for one type of organism. On the left, you see yeast, which is just a single cell, and a new bud just grows right off it. But on the right, you have Hydra, a more complex, multi-celled animal. It grows a whole miniature version of itself that eventually just pops off. So what's the really big difference between these two? Well, as you can see here, with binary fission, the parent disappears into its two offspring. But with budding, the original parent gets to stick around while its smaller offspring goes off on its own. This side-by-side really makes that key difference sink in. All right, we've seen a couple of cool examples, so let's zoom out and get to the main point. What is the superpower of asexual reproduction? And maybe more importantly, what's its kryptonite? This quote from our source really says it all. The offspring is an exact replica of the parent. There's no mixing of genes, no new combinations. It's a strategy built entirely on consistency. It's genetic copy and paste.
And that's its greatest strength. If you're living in an environment that's perfectly stable and you're doing great, then making tons of identical copies of yourself is the smartest, most efficient thing you can do. It's all about speed. But what happens if that perfect environment suddenly changes?
And that brings us to our final and most important question. If this cloning strategy is so fast, so efficient, and so low effort, why doesn't everything do it? What could sexual reproduction possibly offer that makes all of its complexity and effort worthwhile? Well, that's a story for our next explainer.